We had a great Sunday this Sunday as we continued our Others series. Pastor Carl has started us off with week 1 and 2, and please do catch up with those if you can. But this week we were looking at what does it look like to stretch ourselves for the sake of others. It can sometimes be a bit inconvenient. We had a look at the story in John chapter 4, and I'd love you just to spend some time this week reading through that whole story of Jesus at the well with the Samaritan lady. He'd been on a journey, a long journey in a hot and dusty climate, and he sat at the well. I know when I've had a long and a busy day, all I want to do is just sit down and chill out. I don't want the doorbell to go. I don't want someone to kind of pop up and get in my way. And yet here, Jesus sitting down, chilling out, just having a moment, and this Samaritan woman comes along. See, being others-minded allows yourself to be inconvenienced, to kind of stretch yourself out for the sake of others. And you know what? It's counterintuitive. When Jesus stretched himself to the Samaritan woman, when he had that conversation, he was energized. In fact, the disciples who'd gone off to come back to get food for him came back and they brought him food and he said, I don't even need the food. My food is to do the will of God. It energized him. When we stretch ourselves to allow others maybe to inconvenience us, God gives us all of the energy and the impetus that we need to do what he's asking us to do. Being others-minded also changes culture. Here was a lady that normally Jews would never ever have spoken to, and yet Jesus took the time not just to have a surface level chat, but to have a real heart to heart about the things of life that were important to her. He spent his time with her, and in doing so he changed culture. He changed the way we see things. We all have unseen rules that we live by. How to load the dishwasher, how to do various different things in our lives. And yet Jesus goes past those unseen rules and he just stretches himself. So being others-minded can be inconvenient. It can change culture. But you know what else it does? It sees what others fail to see. This is one of the most amazing things about the whole encounter that Jesus had with this lady. He reveals himself as Messiah. He hasn't done that to anyone, not the disciples, not his followers, no one else. This lady who is in a place at a time when no one else was there, that Jews would never ever have spoken to, Jesus chooses her to reveal himself. And in revealing himself, she goes off and she tells a whole village about him. And a whole village comes to know about Jesus Christ. Who would have thought the Samaritan woman who was at the well at noon because she wanted to avoid people would become one of the gospel's greatest evangelists? When we stretch ourselves on behalf of others, we see what others fail to see. We see what God is doing in someone else. And I'm sure you're so grateful that God sees something in you, that God has seen something in you, that he's invested in you, and that he's poured his love out on you. Let's pass that on to other people. So this week, as we stretch ourselves for others, let's be inconvenienced. Let's change some culture, and let's see what others fail to see. Thanks.